forcé à agir comme ça. Le code, c'est la loi.
The story is set in 1759, on a remote French island. Dozens of black people are hard at work on a vast sugarcane plantation, under the supervision of a man named Larsen Net. One day, Larsen ordered one of his trusted slaves, Masamba, to tell the other workers to be more active, because in 2 weeks the harvest season would arrive. However, the news sparked anger among the other slaves. They began to hate Masamba because they considered him a traitor who submitted to the white man. In the evening, Masamba's daughter Maddie tried to persuade her father to run away. She wanted to go to a place known as Bumi, a place where they could live freely and no longer be treated like animals. However, Masamba refused his daughter's request. To him, Bumi was just folklore, a fairy tale that wasn't real. The next day, the atmosphere on the plantation became even more tense. A couple is caught trying to escape. Their punishment was cruel. The husband even had his earlobes cut off without any mercy.
Il me forçait à agir comme ça. Le code, c'est la loi.
That night, Maddie wept bitterly at the atrocities that had taken place during the day. He again asked his father to leave the cursed place. However, Masamba remained adamant. He was not ready to take a big risk because the punishment for those caught was death on the gallows. Not long after, Masamba was summoned to his master's presence. Apparently, Larsen was visited by a high-ranking official, the governor. In front of them, the brainwashed Masamba declared that black people were like animals who had to submit and serve white people. Hearing that, the governor smiled with satisfaction. However, when Masamba was asked why many slaves were trying to escape, he unhesitatingly replied that the main cause was the extreme exhaustion caused by the relentless forced labor.
Saurais-tu m'expliquer pourquoi tant d'esclaves prennent la fuite?
En même temps que les bêtes.
Quelle est leur cause?
Hearing Masamba's answer, the governor was furious. To him, black people should not feel fatigue, because they are nothing more than working animals. In a fit of rage, he rudely threw Masamba out of the room. Not only that, the governor also revoked all the privileges previously given to Masamba. Now, she is no longer allowed to live in the same hut with her daughter.
J'oublie de l'excuser.
Les Noirs d'Afrique appartenaient à la race humaine.
Épargnez-moi ce mot. Ressaisissez-vous.
However, when Maddie was about to be taken to Larsen's house, the girl managed to escape. This left Masamba filled with fear. If her daughter was caught, she would surely be hanged without mercy. The next morning, Larsen ordered his men to send out trail hunters to look for Maddie. One of those who participated in the hunt was his own son, Henry. Henry also asked his father not to impose the death penalty if Maddie was caught, and Larsen agreed to the request. Meanwhile, Masamba was subjected to cruel torture because he refused to tell where his daughter had gone. Soon after, a hunter named Poison arrived with his 2 sons. With a sly tone, Poison tried to persuade Masamba to reveal Maddie's hiding location. However, Masamba remained steadfast in keeping the secret. Eventually, Maddie's close friend, a slave named Fox, who could not bear the threat, was forced to reveal that Maddie had fled to Earth. Hearing this, Poison and his 2 sons immediately set off in pursuit of the poor girl. Meanwhile, Masamba was thrown into a cage and would not be released until his daughter was captured. Late in the afternoon, when he was about to return to his hut, the fox secretly threw something into the dog's cage, making the guardian animal die instantly. Then, as night fell, with great caution, the fox sneaked out and freed Masamba. Seeing the freedom that was now in front of her eyes, Masamba couldn't hide her gratitude. Without waiting any longer, she immediately ran through the darkness, into the dense forest, where her only hope was to save her daughter. As dawn broke, Masamba washed her body in the Tom River. With all her might, she tried to remove the chain still wrapped around her head. After many attempts, the chain finally came off, and without wasting any time, she resumed her journey to pursue her daughter. In the evening, in the middle of his journey, Masamba stopped to rest. Elsewhere, a man named Hotel, who secretly hated the slavery system, challenged Poison with a sharp question. He asked if Poison didn't have the slightest compassion for black people who were constantly forced to work nonstop. However, Poison coldly replied that he felt no pity, as he thought black people were no different from animals.
Mais les ignorer n'y changera rien. Les théologiens ont convenu que les Noirs d'Afrique n'avaient pas d'âme.
The next day, Masamba continued his journey. However, without realizing it, Poison saw his existence through binoculars. Realizing this, Poison and his men immediately moved after him. On the other hand, during his escape, Masamba met a man named Joy, who was also running away with his wife and red baby. They tried to hide from the hunters, but in the afternoon, their baby's cries broke the silence, revealing their hiding place. With no other option, they were forced to flee. Before parting ways, Joy first hid his wife in a safe place, then gave Masamba a sharp machete, inviting him to fight his pursuers. However, in the fierce battle, Hotel, the only person with a conscience, died at Joy's hands. Meanwhile, Poison's son Rabies was left alive by Masamba. As the journey continued, Masamba finally arrived at the riverbank and met an old man named Dino, who turned out to be a teacher. Seeing Masamba's exhausted condition, Dino took him to his hiding place. There, Masamba revealed that she was looking for her daughter. Arriving at a safe place, Dino gave her food, which was immediately devoured by Masamba, who had been holding back her hunger for a long time.
Pourquoi tu es marron? Merci.
Ils ont brûlé le papier qui m'affranchisse.
She was so grateful for Dino's kindness. The next morning, Rabies made a surprising decision. He decided not to join the hunt for Masamba and Maddie anymore. He made this decision because Masamba had saved his life yesterday. Hearing her son's decision, Rabies' mother couldn't do much. However, his brother, Joseph, could not accept the decision. Although Joseph felt disappointed, he finally let his younger brother, Rabies, go home while carrying Hotel's body. Meanwhile, before resuming the journey, Masamba got a hint from Dino that Maddie most likely did not go to Earth, as the place was very far and hidden. Instead, a more plausible destination was the beach. Without wasting any time, Masamba immediately moved towards the beach as directed by Dino. However, shortly after he left, Poison and Joseph found Dino's hiding place. They immediately pointed their guns at him and demanded him to tell them where Masamba had gone. However, Dino remained steadfast in maintaining his secret. Dino's reluctance to talk made Poison furious. Without hesitation, he shot him dead. Afterward, they searched the hideout and found Masamba's old clothes that she had left behind because they were too dirty. Seeing the clue, Poison immediately ordered his tracking dog, Yayan, to follow Masamba's trail. After an intensive search, they finally found Masamba crossing the river. Without warning, Yayan immediately attacked, causing both of them to topple over and fall into the waterfall. However, Masamba was not easily defeated. While trying to control herself in the water, she realized that Yayan was still alive and attacked her again. Full of rage, Masamba fought back and eventually killed the beast dog. The act did not go unnoticed by Poison and Joseph, who had arrived at the location and witnessed the whole thing from a distance. The next day, after another long journey, Masamba finally reached the shore, just as Dino had said. However, instead of finding her daughter, she was greeted by a horrifying sight, the lifeless bodies of starving people lying in the sand. In the midst of despair, Masamba was still given a glimmer of hope. Not long after she arrived, she met 3 men who were busy building a boat. Seeing the opportunity, Masamba immediately approached them and explained that she was looking for her daughter, Maddie. One of the men advised Masamba to look for a nearby cave. With a hopeful heart, he immediately rushed there. Unexpectedly, she actually found Maddie in the cave. Seeing her daughter safe, Masamba felt indescribable happiness. So did Maddie, who immediately ran into her father's arms, crying with relief. After a long time apart, they were finally reunited. After the touching meeting, Maddie confidently said that he believed Bumi the sanctuary often told in legends really existed. However, just as they were about to leave, Poison and Joseph arrived at the cave. Realizing the danger that lurked, Masamba cleverly erased her footprints on the ground, making them lose their way. The two continued to search, but Masamba and Maddie remained nowhere to be found. Night fell. After running for so long, Masamba made a big decision. She no longer wanted to be a fugitive on the run. She realized that to truly achieve freedom, she had to face Poison and Joseph. In the middle of a tense night, Masamba performed a ritual to ask for strength from her ancestors. She prayed to be given courage and strength for the upcoming battle. Shortly after that, the rain fell heavily, as if it was the answer to her plea. With full confidence, Masamba prepared and immediately attacked Poison and Joseph. The sudden attack made them panic, but they immediately prepared to face Masamba's resistance. A fierce fight ensued. Full of rage and vengeance, Masamba finally managed to finish off Joseph, leaving him lifeless. Now, only Poison remained. Despite being shot in the fight, Masamba persisted and finally managed to kill Poison, ending the cruel man's savagery forever. The next day, Maddie resolutely tried to take his wounded father away from that place. However, on the way, Masamba suddenly lost his consciousness and fell unconscious. Seeing his father lying motionless, Maddie screamed hysterically, fearing the worst. He didn't want to lose the only family he had left. However, just as hope was fading, some people on the hill heard her screams. They quickly climbed down and rescued Masamba. Taking him to their home. Unexpectedly, the place they were in turned out to be Earth, the land that Masamba and Maddie had been looking for. This was the paradise of freedom that they had only heard about in stories. At that very moment, the residents of the place immediately treated Masamba, including the severe wound on her back. The next day, her health started to improve. Here, there is no slavery. Everyone is completely free. They live by hunting, fishing, and working together to survive. The days passed peacefully. Maddie could finally feel the true freedom he had always dreamed of. He enjoyed every moment in this place, without fear of slavery. In fact, one day, he even saw the shadow of his late mother. It made her very happy, as if her mother was smiling from another world, proud that her daughter had finally achieved freedom. However, the happiness did not last long. On the morning of a quiet day, the troops sent by the governor finally found their hiding place. They came with cruel intentions, to capture the inhabitants of Earth to return as slaves on the Larson plantation.
Gouverneur, vous en fait la promesse.
Dieu me dire non.
Knowing this, the residents did not want to return to slavery. They refused to surrender and chose to sing the Song of Freedom loudly, as their last form of resistance. Then, with determination, they all ran towards the sea, preferring to face the waves rather than return to a life of suffering. The soldiers could only watch from a distance, helpless in the face of the courage of the people who would rather die than return to slavery.